A real GoPro versus a cheap fake knockoff. About $20 versus $200. Is this fake GoPro actually any good? And is the real GoPro worth 10 times as much as this fake knockoff? By the end of this video, hopefully we're going to be able to answer those questions, and I'll be able to tell you whether you should actually pick up one of these fake GoPros for yourself or whether the real deal is what you're after. I'll have a link up here to the footage samples if that's the only thing you're interested in. You can just skip ahead and actually see side by side how the footage stacks up. We will be going into a lot more depth than that though in this comparison, but I will just give you the quick rundown right up front. So really, I just say straight up that if you are after a really good all-round action camera and you're willing to pay a bit more for it, then the GoPro Hero 7 Silver, that's this one here, is actually quite a good package. The footage itself is actually quite nice as well, and yeah, I'm very pleased with this GoPro. On the other hand though, if you do just want a really cheap action camera, then I actually really would recommend that you check out this fake GoPro. Obviously, as we'll see when we go in depth and compare these two, this does lack in a lot of areas, but for $20, it's impressive that you can get a fake GoPro at all. The footage itself, isn't pretty by any standards, but it does do the job. So if you're after just something very cheap that can get the job done, then I definitely would recommend checking this out. But now I do want to go in depth and actually dive into the details and compare these two action cameras. We'll be looking at the physical differences between these two action cameras, the actual picture quality and video quality of these two action cameras, and then also going over the additional features that each of these cameras offers. So let's jump into it with the physical differences between these two action cameras. So picking up these two action cameras, the first thing you'll notice is just how sort of plasticky this fake action camera feels. As you can see, the fake action camera does just have, a totally plastic housing. The screen on the back is plastic. There is a little silicone sort of overlay on the front, but that is still quite cheap plastic as well. Overall, as you'd expect, it is quite cheaply constructed. It feels very cheap. Compare that to the GoPro itself, and it does feel a lot more premium. It does feel a lot more rugged as well, I think. It does have a nice silicone covering on the top, and it definitely doesn't have, that rattle. It feels a lot more solid. On the back, as you can see, the GoPro does actually have a glass touchscreen, a 2-inch touchscreen, unlike just the cheap plasticky screen on this fake GoPro. And as you can see, all around the GoPro, it does sort of have this silicone wrap. You can see this button at the top is sort of sealed with that silicone overlay. All the covers have little O-ring seals and stuff. So that actually helps, just make this GoPro feel a lot more sturdy. But it does also mean that this GoPro is, as it is right now, waterproof up to 10 meters, which means, you can just take it into the surf a little bit and it'll be okay. You can take it into lakes and ponds and stuff and it will be okay. As long as you're not diving down too deep, then you don't even need a underwater case or anything to go diving with this GoPro. As we were saying, compared to the cheap GoPro, it feels a lot more plasticky and it does have exposed ports and stuff. So that means that as it is right now, it is not waterproof. It'd just totally break if you dropped it in the water or anything. And really, just the cheap construction of this fake GoPro doesn't really give me any confidence in it. I feel like if you bumped it or dropped it a little bit or anything, then it would just totally break. It'd probably, smash in half or something. Compared to the real GoPro, obviously, you wouldn't want to be throwing this around. The glass screen could definitely shatter. Same up the front, the lens cover is quite exposed and it is not replaceable on this Hero 7 Silver. So you wouldn't want to throw either of these around, but I would definitely feel more confident that this GoPro would survive than this fake knockoff. Just looking around the fake GoPro though, you'll see this slot on the bottom. What that actually is a little battery slot, which means that you can actually pull out the battery and replace it with a spare. So you don't actually just need to charge it up, which actually is not a feature on the real GoPro. As you can see, the Hero 7 Silver does not have replaceable batteries. All we can do is charge it through here and change out the SD card, but the battery itself is sealed inside. On the more expensive GoPro, it does have removable batteries, but for this cheaper GoPro, that is a feature that is missing on this GoPro, and this budget GoPro does actually have it. So that is one plus for this fake GoPro. In terms of the port selection on these devices, you can see the fake GoPro does have a micro USB port, a micro SD card slot, and a mini HDMI slot. So that mini HDMI will let you actually plug this into a TV with the right cable, so you can actually display things a little bit easier. On the other hand, the GoPro does just have a micro SD card slot and a USB-C connector. Now personally, I'm a big fan of USB-C. I literally have it on just about everything, on my headphones, my phone, my laptop, all that sort of stuff. So having it on my GoPro as well is an absolute plus. It means, if I'm traveling, if I'm going overseas, I don't need to bring an extra charger, and it is just one less thing to worry about, so that is a big plus for me. Just turning both of these action cameras on so we can check out their screens. You can see the screen on the GoPro looks very nice. It's almost just like they've shrunken down your phone and stuck it on the back. It's high res, it looks very nice. The colors come out quite nice as well. Compared that to the screen on this fake GoPro, it looks very garbage. As you can see, the resolution is very low as well, and it actually wobbles quite a lot, as you can see, which is partly the screen, partly the actual recording functionality on this camera, but overall it's just not very nice to actually use this screen. It's quite hard to actually make out any details, and comparing that to the GoPro, you know, the GoPro's screen is very nice. It lets you frame up your shots quite well and just see exactly what is being recorded. It is handy that they included a screen on this fake GoPro, you know, you'd almost expect them to just cut that out entirely, but really it just doesn't even compare to the really nice looking screen on the real GoPro. And now the final main physical difference between these two devices is actually the weight of the two action cameras. So the GoPro actually weighs in at about 95 grams compared to the very light feeling 45 grams on this fake GoPro. And you can definitely tell holding them side by side, the GoPro does feel quite sturdy. That extra weight does make it feel like, you know, there's actually a lot going on in here and that it does feel quite durable. Compared to this fake GoPro, you know, the lightweight feeling combined with the really cheap plastic does feel like if you did drop it or did impact it quite hard, then this fake GoPro would just, you know, totally die, totally shatter, versus the real GoPro does definitely feel quite a lot more sturdier. So those were the main physical differences between these two devices. So now let's actually move on to the main differences when you're recording with these two action cameras. Now, comparing the footage between the real GoPro and our fake knockoff isn't really a comparison at all. The stuff out of the real GoPro actually looks very nice. Overall, it's very clear, very sharp, and the colors look very nice as well. Comparing that to the stuff from the fake GoPro, the footage from this fake GoPro just does not look very good at all. The colors are quite strange. Even in 4K, it does shoot quite a grainy image, and it actually has quite a severe jelly effect. The frame just sort of wobbles when you pan back and forth, and overall, just the footage out of this does not look very nice at all. And really, I suppose that's what you're paying a lot more for, is just that superior image quality, all the hard work that GoPros are put into developing the image processing pipeline as well. You know, this is the GoPro Hero 7 now. They've had 7 generations of cameras to really work hard on and refine. Comparing that to this fake action camera, you know, that's just been quickly thrown together, I'm not really surprised that the stuff out of the GoPro looks a whole lot better, as well as, of course, you know, you're paying a lot more for the GoPro, and you'd expect, therefore, that it would have superior image quality, and it certainly does deliver. Beyond actual record quality, the GoPro does have quite a few extra features when it comes to recording videos. For instance, it does have image stabilization built in. It has electronic image stabilization. So that means that when you're actually holding it or, you know, mounting it to something, it won't be jittery and wobbling around as much compared to the fake GoPro, which doesn't have any sort of stabilization, and just every little bump and knock really shows up in the frame, and that is compounded even by the jelly effect that you get when recording with it. So the real GoPro definitely wins hands down when it comes to stabilization. The real GoPro does also support slow-mo video, so it can shoot in up to 60 FPS at 1080p or 1440p, and that will allow you to slow it down to say 50% and play back clips in, you know, double the time it would take, so you can slow them down quite a lot. This fake GoPro does not have that option. It just shoots in a single frame rate at about 30 FPS, I think, so it doesn't really have many options for slow-mo or, you know, high frame rate recording. Now, one thing actually where these two cameras are about equal is in battery life when recording. So both the real GoPro and the fake lasted about 1.5 to 2 hours when recording in 4K video for me, so that's actually pretty impressive. You know, the fact that you can get 1.5 hours of recording high quality 4K on the real GoPro, and the fact that this fake GoPro can actually, you know, last for an hour and a half is actually pretty solid. Remember though that this fake GoPro does have replaceable batteries, so, you know, that might be a slight advantage to it. If you decide to pick up an extra battery, then you will be able to just quickly swap it out, versus the real GoPro, which will actually need to be recharged via, you know, plugging in a cable to actually charge it up when it gets low on battery. So those were sort of the main differences you can expect when you're comparing the recording quality of the GoPro with that of the fake. The fact that the GoPro just has far superior image quality, the built-in stabilization, and, you know, still quite respectable battery life really does just mean that this fake GoPro can't really compete with it when it comes to image quality. Now, before we wrap up, I did just want to briefly touch on some little things that each of these cameras does offer. So the GoPro, as we've said, is waterproof up to 10 meters without a housing, and I think that actually is a pretty cool feature of this GoPro. It means, you know, you can just dunk it in the water, you can use it as is, and, you know, you don't have to worry about anything. You just have to, you know, clip it into the little housing, maybe attach a little floaty handle so it doesn't float away. But yeah, overall, I think that is actually a pretty cool feature. It means you can just jump in the water straight away with it. I do find myself using the phone app quite a lot, actually. I think it is definitely a big feature of the GoPro to be able to just put it down somewhere, walk off a little bit, and then actually monitor it on your phone to make sure it's recording what you want. Or even just, you know, if you've mounted it flush to something, you know, to a bike or whatever, and you can't actually, you know, access it properly, being able to quickly log in with your phone and change stuff up is pretty handy. The fake GoPro though though does actually have a few little bonuses of its own. So you don't actually just get the fake GoPro. When I bought it, you got the fake GoPro, you did get this 30-meter water housing, as well as quite a few little accessories and stuff, which were actually quite a plus. You know, obviously you do want the camera, but the point of these little action cameras is to be able to mount them to things. So the fact that a lot of extra mounting equipment was included was actually quite a plus for this fake GoPro. So just to wrap up though with some final thoughts, look, unsurprisingly, the real GoPro is quite a lot better than the fake for about 10 times the price at about 200 bucks. That is what you'd hope for, but really I've got to say I'm very impressed. I've had this for a few months now, I've taken it overseas, and I've been very pleased with how it works, how it performs. You know, the image quality from it is really nice actually, you know, being able to connect it to your phone. All those little features add up to actually a very good experience using this GoPro. So really, you know, if you are after a high quality action camera, then I really can't recommend anything else. You know, there are 3 models of GoPros. There's the black, the silver, and the white. So this is the silver, the mid-range model. I'll have a link to it in the video description so you can check it out. And really, you know, if you're after some high quality action shots, then, you know, just stick with the OGs, go grab a GoPro and go out and start shooting, because you will be getting some really great image quality in quite a high quality package. On the other hand though, if 200 bucks is too expensive, you know, maybe you're not sure if you actually want an action camera, then this fake GoPro is actually a pretty cool little package on its own. For about 20 bucks, you know, you can get a workable action camera. It can take some shots. You know, it's better to have a clip that looks a bit crap than just not have it at all. And really, you know, if this is all you're after, then I still would recommend checking it out and maybe picking one up for yourself. So I'll have a link to this in the video description as well. Overall though, I hope you found this video informative and useful. You know, I found it quite interesting comparing the two, seeing the differences. I think, as I've said a few times now, the fact that for 20 bucks you can get something like this at all is very impressive. But really, you know, using this a bit does just remind me how much I actually love my GoPro, how nice the footage from it looks. So yeah, really, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe down below. And if you have any suggestions for future videos, make sure to leave them in the comments section. If you want to find out more information on these two action cameras, I'll have links to them both in the video description. And if you are interested in buying these, consider using those links in the description to help support this channel. Really though, that just about wraps up this video, so thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.